You probably need that more than that.
Okay.
Because if you're a Christian and you're against the murder of the preborn, that I mean, this is more for non-Christians.
Yeah.
Unless you want to give it to somebody.
No, that's
but
great. Yeah.
that, as we're explaining to these young gentlemen over here,
Yeah.
that talks about the difference between pro-life and abolition.
Yes.
Dude, I guess you overheard some of that. Do you understand the difference?
I heard just a little bit as I came in, but no, I didn't hear your whole spiel.
Well, basically, in a nutshell, the difference between pro-life and abolition is pro-lifers, they pass bills that basically don't do anything, and that declare how, when, and where you can murder a baby.
Yeah.
And you know what conditions you can murder a baby, what criteria you need to meet.
Just to politically look good.
Yep.
Well, basically, yeah, it's a fundraiser and a moneymaker, and an abolition bill. Let me show you real quick. In here.
How does Stitt fit into this?
He's a pro-lifer and he don't care about these babies not one bit.
And he actually, I don't know if you probably saw this, when during the governor's race in 2018, he said, "I'm the most pro-life person here. I got 6 children." That's what he said.
That's right. I remember that.
And he's done nothing
Not a thing.
to end the murder of the preborn. Not nothing.
So why?
Here's the difference right here between a pro-life bill and an abolition bill.
Yeah. Abolition. We're trying to do something about it, right?
Well, yeah, it's
Criminalize it.
Yeah.
criminalizing it and establishing justice for the preborn.
It's the most incredible thing, isn't it? The most vulnerable person, the baby, and you're willing to kill it.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? Really.
The
The most vulnerable. And think about the woman. It's natural for a woman to care so much about her child, yet many of them are prepared to kill
Quickly.
her child. It's so much against nature, isn't it? Really.
It is against nature, and I mean, think of how against nature it is that I think you overheard the conversation there where we were telling these young men, think about this, in the most pro-life state, supposedly pro-life state in the country, 50 states, this is the most pro-life it's known as, and even in this state, they refuse to end the murder of the preborn.
Yeah.
And it's not like, well, the governor's pro-abortion, that all these senators are pro-abortion, all the legislature. No, they are dominantly pro-life. Almost all of them are pro-life.
And they've got a super majority, not just the legislature, all of it. The governor's office, the senators, and the legislature. I mean, all of the politicians, they have power throughout. Like Trump had it for the first 2 years of his presidency. He had the Supreme Court, he had the senators, he had the congressmen, he had all of it. And they did nothing.
And under George Bush.
George Bush had it for 6 years. 6
years.
6 years he had it.
Yeah,
he had a super majority and they did nothing.
The spirit of iniquity doth already work.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
that's amazing, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it doesn't make sense at first. And I acknowledge that to people. This does not make sense. Why you have not pro-abortion Democrats, but pro-life Republicans killing these bills every year in Oklahoma. Every year they kill the bill that would end the murder of the preborn.
I remember Mary Fallon was one of the worst on that.
But Governor Kevin Stitt, think about this. In 50 years, and now Kevin Stitt is, he's one of the latest governors. 50 years, 50 states, not one single governor, not one mayor, not one legislature has stood up to the Supreme Court and said we're not going to allow any more babies to be murdered in our state, in our jurisdiction. Not one.
Yeah. But they do it for weed.
How is that possible? How is that possible?
Yeah.
How's that even possible?
It's a spiritual battle, isn't it? And the thing is that we're all involved with it. It doesn't matter what your talk is. If you look at your own personal life, you can see how our own fallen natures come through, and it's just magnified in the case of these politicians who claim to be Christians.
Take communion.
What was your name?
Wayne Stewart.
Wayne Stewart. I'm Billy Coleman.
Billy.
I'd like to get your phone number, Wayne.
Nicholas.
Sure.
Are you?
I'm a lecturer here.
You're
in the math department. I'm a statistician. So I'm already supporting your work here. I went to the Black Robe Regiment.
Really? Dan Fisher.
Yes, and he's a great guy.
Wayne Stewart?
Wayne Stewart, yeah.
So you're probably familiar with Free States?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm completely behind the founding of the United States. When people say, Wayne, do you support the USA? Well, you've got to qualify that, because you've got all sorts of people trying to vie for the control of the United States. I'm for the founding principles that by which the United States was formed, in its Constitution and its amendments. But what we have today is we've got people who voice one thing, just like this issue you're talking about. They voice one thing, but they're actually about the destruction of the United States in terms of its founding.
Which one was it?
Oh, he didn't. I don't think he's.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I can't let him walk by when you're looking at it like that. I gotta say something.
Yeah.
What was your number now?
Yeah, no, you guys are doing a good job. I'm also a member of the John Birch Society, and they're doing.
How you doing, sir?
Tend to be doing a good job.
Do you know about Abolition Day coming up on February 8th?
Yeah, I'm for life.
No, I don't.
Well, I don't know if I have any flyers about that.
There's an
That's
Abolition
right.
Day coming up at the Capitol
Is there?
on the 6th.
On February 8th.
February 8th.
February 8th at 10 a.m. Yeah, at the Capitol, February 8th at 10 a.m. Abolitionists are gathering from,
All over the country.
yeah, including me. I'm not from Oklahoma, but I'm coming here.
Last year we had 2,000 some people show up, on and off throughout it.
February 8th.
Yeah.
February 8th at 10 a.m.
Great.
And so that so I'm telling people that so they can make it. I mean, I'm from Kansas, but I'm telling even those in Kansas to come. 'Cause it's not that.
Yeah.
I mean, neighboring state.
Trying to get folks, because once one state gets out of the deadlock,
Think if
another
Oklahoma,
state will go.
if Oklahoma would do
Good
it,
example
Texas
will be
will
here,
go,
right? Yeah.
you know.
exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
Whether the state should be the first one. I mean, pro-life Oklahoma, it should be the easiest right here, right?
Yes, it should be. I
And-
think that, one of the biggest problems we have. Sorry, to
Go
interrupt.
ahead.
One of the big problems we have is a teaching which is common in the church, which says basically that our lives should be divided. We have the church and state, and it's the idea that we make this partition between how we live in our spiritual lives as opposed to how we would live in terms of the world around us, which I think is completely wrong. And so therefore we don't really get the kind of good candidates going forward for being governor or for being a senator or for being a congressperson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't have the people who are really dedicated to living the life of Christ throughout all facets of their life. If that was the case, this is not even an argument.
We wouldn't have to
It's
do
not
this.
even an argument.
We wouldn't have to do it.
So that's what I think. I think we should all be, those that have that sort of zeal for politics. Okay, get going on it then. Get going on it.
Do something.
Yeah.
You probably are familiar with Senator Joseph Silk, or former senator.
Yes.
And now they're trying to look for someone else to put forth the abolition bill.
Yeah.
And I don't think they found anyone yet that I'm aware of. There's a. Have you seen their podcast, Free the States podcast?
No.
Let me show you real
Yeah,
quick.
they got a pretty good podcast going now.
Yeah.
Because
the
the reason I know about a lot of this stuff is because they have a Liberator podcast that they do this every Thursday. Yeah, right here, the Liberator podcast. It's on
This guy here, what's his name?
Russell Hunter.
Russell Hunter. I'm pretty sure I've met him.
You sounds like you probably have, if you know about Joseph Silk and
Yeah.
Dan Fisher.
Dan Fisher, yeah.
And
he's a great guy.
That will kind of help you to know. Well, I mean, you already know a good amount. Sounds like, because we need to put more pressure on the legislature, on the governor, on the senators to do their duty.
Yeah.
Because
I agree.
this past year, I wasn't here, but I was following it. I'm sure you saw this, Billy. What was the vote? The Republicans and the Democrats, they voted on the abolition bill. What was the vote? Do you recall? 10-0. They voted to not even hear the bill. 10-0.
Oh, that's right.
7 Republicans, 3 Democrats. They wouldn't even hear it. They would not even give it the time of day.
Do they ever come forward and just explain why they are doing this? Why? What is your...
Yes, the reasons actually they're in that booklet. The reasons they give are various reasons. We cannot defy SCOTUS. We need to overturn Roe v. Wade. We don't want to punish the moms for murdering their babies because they believe the moms are victims, every one of them. They don't want to punish the moms.
That's interesting because they're living victims, aren't they? Where the babies are dead victims.
Yeah.
Well, the pro-life movement has taught them that every mom's a victim, every mom, and they, and also it's a gravy train to keep the money going.
Yeah.
And they
make a career out of it. Pro-life speakers.
It's fundraisers.
If it were a Christian thing to throw eggs at these people when they speak, I would throw eggs at them every time they get up on the podium. These pro-life speakers, because they're just they're mercenaries.
Yes.
They get paid.
Yes.
They get paid lucratively, like Lila Rose and all her nonsense. She talks a good game. She's like this super famous pro-lifer, and she'll get on social media and she'll say these things that are righteous, but then go and support these bills where babies are still going to be murdered. And preach it like a preacher on a podium.
Yeah.
And abolitionists like ourselves will talk to those in the pro-life movement, whether they're a leader or they're just average Joes like us.
Yeah.
Well, they talk to them. I've been talking to people. I'm from Wichita, and I've been talking to people in Wichita about all this, and many get it. I mean, you see, like when I tell them about how awful the pro-life movement is and the failure that they've done nothing basically to end abortion, and the abolition movement, they're actually biblical. The pro-life movement's not biblical.
Yeah.
That a lot of people get it.
Yeah.
Some, like in Oklahoma, they've hardened their hearts in the legislature.
Yeah.
They have hardened their hearts.
Greg Treat.
Yeah, Greg Treat was one, and Greg what was it, McCormick? McCordney. Greg McCordney.
Yeah.
Here's another one.
That's it.
And they fought tooth and nail to kill the abolition bill. That had nothing to do with it.
Then we find out McCourtney has a vested interest in abortion, in birth control pills, in abortion pills. The guy has a vested financial interest in these companies, proclaiming that he's a Christian.
Yeah.
Taking communion.
It's just like the hospitals and the doctors. A lot of doctors today have got a vested interest in pharmaceutical companies. Yep. And that's why we're not getting therapeutics that would save thousands and around the world millions of lives. But no, they will not give you that which works.
Yep. They give you that which
remdesivir.
Yeah.
Put you into a ventilator and kill you.
Yep.
You know? That's what it is.
Yep.
Hey, look, I'm going to get going because I've got some more grading, but it's really a pleasure to meet you guys.
Thanks, Wayne. I'll be giving you a call.
Yeah.
Mr. Stewart.
I'm local. He's from Kansas, but I'm local.
What happened against him, though?
Do you have, before you go, do you have any, could you give any literature to your students? I don't know if you could do that without getting in trouble.
I would like to, but I'll be out the door in the next time.
Oh, okay. Or even for the next...
I know, this is a problem that I have. I have
a
problem here.
Or could you give literature just to people in general?
In general I can, yeah. But I mean, here I'll be out the door.
Sure.
Which is okay, but then I've got to find a new job, you know what I'm saying?
Could you give these to a few people?
Take it out.
Yes, I can.
Which one do you think was conceived in rape?
Thank you, Mr. Stewart.